Morning, yeah. Okay, so a little bit of real talk this morning. So just got off the phone with a friend of mine, and I'm just going to reiterate about the time and space reality that we're in right now, and for folks to take a few moments just to reflect. And I'm speaking to white-bodied folks right now, okay? As happy as I am that there's been a shift within administration and that people are at the helm of different decision-making spaces within the country, that does not mean that things are back to normal. Now, if normalcy is white folks not working on their shit, then okay. But I'm not down, nor have I ever been down with that normal. And neither should any of us be down with that normal. Else we will continue to fall in this circular pattern of history that we have been in for the past 400 years here in the United States, okay? So, with that said, there's been a couple of things that I have noticed in terms of my own practice that I have been trying to put into the ethos to folks so they understand the benefit of having conversations about what it means to build healthy white culture, right? What does it mean to reinvest in love within ourselves and with amongst one another? And also, what does that mean to attach it in cognitive thought to our bodies in order for us to release it? Okay, so I am one total disclosure. I started off doing yoga for a body-centric thing, really hyper, body aware, dealing with my own trauma, eating disorders in my early 20s, all of the things, right? Always having constant pain in my knees. I used to run, to try to just maintain weight and body shape. I used to lift weights and go to the gym and all of the things. It was never really about the fun and pleasure of it. It was about a vanity space and trying to heal myself in my own trauma. Was this the process I needed to go through? Absolutely, right? And I am kind to myself in the process. Do I still miss some of these things? Yes. Would I go back to them with a different mind space now of enjoyment rather than doing it because I needed to do it? Probably. Okay. And keep in mind, I probably did need to do it, right? Again, part of the process. For those of you who know me, I used to practice hot yoga, the 26 and 2 series, religiously, and I have for the past 10 years. Since I started teaching, I started not practicing quite as much within the 26 and 2, but I still probably take it once a week or once every 2 weeks or some type of form or variation of it. But I used to go 5 to 7 times a week, and I had pretty consistent pain in my knees. Now this was from running, but pain started when I was in high school, and people described it as some IT band stuff, so went to PT, did all the things. Yoga really helped me within that space. But it was still I had to go to yoga in terms of the pain management of things. Now, during all of this time, I had been, being mentored by incredible Black and brown men and women within spaces. I had been working for nonprofits. I had been doing all of these things. And for those of you that know, I joined forces with Marlene Boyette. We established Black and Blonde. We used to flow together, but she called me out and has called me out multiple times. And I remember one day specifically when we were hosting a class together at South Boston Yoga, and we were flowing across from each other. And she was like, "Relax your jaw." And I was like, "My jaw isn't tight." She's like, "Yeah, it is. You can't see yourself. Relax your jaw." And I would notice when I would flow with her, I would have like sweat from like one armpit, like one bead of sweat would like roll down like my arm. And I started to notice more so that I always knew that my head and my heart was in alignment with the work, always. Like I never doubted myself within that space. But what I started to notice was this microaggressive creep was this space that I was holding within my body. And when I finished Resmaa Menakem's book this summer, like My Grandmother's Hands, and reading The Body Keeps the Score, and now diving into the Anatomy of Spirit, there is this huge conversation that we are missing as white-bodied people in terms of what we need to do to be able to release some of these things, right? So this workshop series is for us to start to address this, right? For us to start to address what is healthy white culture, because what is it? We've been a bunch of takers for a long time. We've been stealing Black culture and repurposing it as our, and claiming it's our own, you know. And I think a lot of white folks struggle with what is white culture, like what are we, what am I, you know. And these aren't comfortable conversations to have, and a lot of people can push back on it, and I get it, right? And at the same time, if we don't have these conversations, things will never change. So since I've started to slowly release and work these like concepts of coming to my mat, and before I get on my mat, now mind you, the flows that I do are not usually restorative flows. They're not yin, meaning I don't sit in postures for long periods of time and just breathe. So it's not pulling this to like the center line of me, right? It's like, I'm gonna come to my mat today, you know, because as white folks, everyone knows, like, you want a workout that's gonna kick your ass, okay? So I come to my mat and I say, today I'm gonna release some white-bodied supremacy and white-bodied trauma from my system, and I keep it general. So since I started doing this back in July, my knee pain has completely, like, pretty much diminished. Also, TMI, but I'm a woman and I don't give a shit. I've had really awful menstrual cramps for the entirety of my cycle, which started when I was 16. And I am finally to a space after this had, mind you, there were a couple of months within the summer when I first started doing this that the actual pain was still there. As of September, every time when I come to my cycle, the pain can be managed by maybe a couple of Advil. That's absurd and unheard of to me. And this is the stuff that runs with, these are the types of things that run within families. So I've used myself as an experiment in order to take this forward into something where I'm going to open it up to folks to say, hey, try this. Like, we need to be doing this because we believe in the health of humanity, and because we want to correct the wrongs and the shortcomings of the ancestors before us. They're on our side. We breathe them in through breath and spirit, okay? But if we don't do this, we are going to continue, and you guys have heard me speak about this before, but we're gonna continue to pass this shit down to our kids. And they're gonna have to continue to have this struggle and this fight around this. And I am not about that. I'm not about that. And I don't think any of you are either. So I'm hoping folks can come. I know this is a long ass, like long-winded piece. If you've listened for the past 10 minutes, I applaud you. But for real, y'all, the other thing is that there are other organizations out here having these conversations. And I would encourage you to get involved. Every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, Becky's Anonymous hosts a conversation with folks. The I Collaborative has been hosting conversations with folks as well. So there are other options, right? And the only thing that I would recommend is, like, as you're having these conversations in various spaces, to, when you are done with those conversations, go do something physical, right? Manicam says in his book, like, don't go play golf. Don't go and sit and have like a kumbaya, like, yoga session and like just deep breathe. But, you know, you can get on your mat and do a sweaty ass flow. You can go ahead and go for a walk outside. You can go for a run. Do something that allows your body to shake it off and release it, okay? So I'm not out here saying this is the end all be all. I'm out here saying put in the work. And if you're hesitant to say, oh, I don't hold like white supremacy in my body. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. There is, like COVID, it's the best way to put it. You are not immune to this. It has been put into systems that are like a sponge, have absorbed. You cannot outthink it. You cannot, until you can admit that you can release it, and then you can start catching yourself, and then you can get ahead of it. You want to be smarter? Then admit that it's there. Admit that the disease is in you. It's like with any type of, any type of illness or sickness. You can't just be like, oh, it'll just go away. No. There's active treatment that you need to do in order for it to go out of your body. Maybe it's just being more positive, like on certain things, I think that there is a huge power in the mind, but there's a huge power in accountability and being able to move through it. If you think that you don't need this, I'm going to tell you right now, you're the first person that needs this. For real. For real, for real. With that said, I love all y'all. And I'm really excited about the conversations that are going to be happening out through the month of February. So I hope that you can join. The link is in my bio, on Instagram, through my website, and through Eadem Arbor's website. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on DM. I'm around, I'm here to show up for all of this stuff. So I'm ready for change. I'm actually ready for change. I can't do a whole lot within the systems and the government and rather than like call senators and vote and all of these things. But when we're talking about actually changing systems, circulatory, respiratory, change this system first. Watch how quickly things change when you change this system first. Peace and love, y'all.